All right, so welcome everyone. Strength and conditioning class. We are going to work out, burn some calories, get stronger, move our body a little bit. And then, yeah, we'll just take it from there. So let's go ahead and then start with looking left to right, stretching our necks. We are in February already. First month of the year is behind us. Supposed to be in the 80s this week, up and down. Make sure you're hydrating. Yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, I've been doing these longer runs, and recently my issues have been these terrible cramps near my when I reach 2 hours. So I was very nervous. Let's do our neck circles this last weekend because the run that I was gonna do or that I did was estimated to last about 2.5 hours. So I was already nervous, like, oh man, here we go. When are these cramps gonna happen? Um, am I even gonna complete the run? So long story short, let's switch. I reached out to one of my college friends that I used to compete with, and he trains for Ironman triathlons, which if you're not familiar with that event, it's crazy. It's a 2 mile swim, 120-mile bike ride, and then a marathon. And that's all back to back. Let's bring the right hand over. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, how do you avoid cramps? And he sent me a bunch of information earlier in the week. I was able to order some of the nutrition stuff that he suggested, which was pretty much a good balance of carbohydrates and sodium, the sodium for the salt for the cramps. And yeah, crossed my fingers and did what he suggested and I had no cramps. Everything went smooth. I was so happy. So I think I found a good combination for that. I just don't want to overdo it and shoot for the stars next time and then something bad happens. So let's bring our arm back. So yeah, so feeling a little bit more confident about these longer runs now. Um, but yeah, it's a nice run out there. Ooh, switch. So for today, I have supersets again, supersets would be two different exercises that give each other a break while you're active with one. The other muscle group is resting. So we have several supersets. So I was wondering if we want to stick with exercises of two supersets or four supersets, or we could do a cardio movement and a superset. So any requests or just unmute yourself and give me a shout out. Let me know what you folks want to try. Let's do our trunk rotation.
I like cardio and in between.
Okay. So let's do this. Let's do one cardio movement and then two lifts, and then we'll repeat each set twice, and then we'll move on to a different set afterwards, if that's fine. Ab circles. And for those of you that are participating in the discussions, I appreciate it. I try to go back and respond to any of those comments, as well as the comments in the YouTube videos. So again, just keep that back straight. Breathing should be nice and consistent. Big hula hoops. Some giant big hip circles.
Too tired to do the second class.
do those.
Huh? Yeah.
Go ahead and switch directions.
Good.
We're gonna do standing hip openers. So a little bit of balance work here. So drive your knee up, out, down. Okay, let's switch. Yeah, something else I tried on my run this weekend too is sometimes my calves get really tight. So I have these compression sleeves. So they're like compression socks, but a little bit more snug, and they fit from the right at the ankle to right below the knee. And I've been using those recently, but yeah, that's just something that have made my runs a little bit more comfortable. All right, and our last stretch is gonna be our hamstring stretch. So this one, let's go ahead and grab right below the ankles. Bring your hips down, and then just bring your hips back up, extending your knees. Down, up, down, up, 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 up. Let's do two more. And time. All right. Very good. Awesome. All right. So our first set of exercises here. Dumbbell standing. We're gonna go. This is gonna be. Okay. This is gonna be for the weights. We're gonna go ahead and do dumbbell standing neutral grip shoulder press. So we're standing. You could actually do these sitting. So when we do shoulder press, our palms or our forearms are flared out. This time we're gonna be tucked in here. Okay, so that's gonna work on that medial side of your back and your shoulders. And then for our second lift, we're gonna go with bent over rows. Since we stayed close here for the rows, I want you to go out. Okay, so we're gonna go out right here. So looking down, back is straight. We're bringing those elbows up. And then for our cardio, we're gonna go ahead and do elbow to opposite knee. I was like, what's that body part called? So elbow to opposite knee, okay? So right here, I'm gonna go for 30 to 45 seconds, okay? So just have that equipment ready. Go ahead and grab those for the shoulder press. You might want to have a lighter weight compared to your rows. Remember, and if for some reason that neutral one where we keep it narrow irritates your shoulder, then just find a different position that feels comfortable. Okay, so just let me know. Go ahead and speak up, or you could just unmute yourself, type it in on the chat. All right, so here we go with the neutral shoulder press. All right, we're looking for 10 to 12. Go ahead and grab those. Again, we're in this position. I'm going to show you here. And press, exhale, inhale. Okay. Stand up. Press, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. Remember, for lifts, they're a little bit more taxing. Usually want to go about 40 seconds to 60 seconds rest in between. So here you go, Kathleen. So yeah, so just like Kathleen too, if we have one shoulder that feels funky, there's times where I could go neutral on this one, but this one we have to come out for some reason because it's tight. Yeah, you could go ahead and do that modification. So remember, for our bent over rows, if you need support, you could always hold on to a table and do one arm at a time. If you have a pretty stable core and back, you could just work on both at the same time. Up to you. If you're doing singles, let's go and do 10 on each side. And if we're doing both at the same time, let's go for 12. Okay? Ready? Go ahead. So we're here and then out. Elbows out, not inside, but out. You're good. All right. Take about another 30 seconds, 40 seconds before we start with our core. So you have time if you're still working, catch your breath. Remember the next one, we're gonna go hands here and aim to bring your shoulder. I know I said elbow to your knee, but sometimes you could just do this without much core movement. So I really try to emphasize your shoulder coming across your hip. Okay. So nice torso mobility for this one. And again, if that seems like too much, you could just almost come back here and just modify that by keeping your feet flat and just bringing your shoulder to that opposite knee. All right, here we go. Okay, 30 to 45 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go. Bring that elbow or shoulder down and across. We're at 25 seconds. 30 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time. Woo. Gonna take a minute 15. Buddy's tired. Drinking some water. There you go. Good job.
Boy, my hips are stiff on that one.
Oh, I know. Yeah, there's some movement.
Oh,
That's more like a mobility movement than mobility and cardio because it moves the whole
I
posterior.
felt that,
Yeah,
but I skipped last week, so
gotta catch up. No, you're fine.
yeah, had to rest last week.
Ah, yeah, so we have about 30 seconds left. So there's this website. I don't know if you've heard of Strava. Maybe Jeff, you've heard of it, or some of my active walkers. But I've ordered stuff from this site. It's called The Feed. And yeah, this is a gel packet. It has 50 grams of carbs. Um, Pretty much it's like downing 3 slices of toast in like one gulp as far as carbs. So yeah, definitely not the most enjoyable thing, but it's probably the most efficient thing to put down when you're running and you need energy and you feel like you're gonna pass out. That's what I take on my runs, stuff like that. Not the tastiest, but keeps me alive. All right, we're gonna go to our set. I'm a little tired, so I'm gonna sit down for these neutral shoulder press. Remember, you can do these sitting or standing, but we're gonna go back to these here. Okay. Excuse me. All right, here we go. Ready and begin. So 10 to 12. Remember to exhale, inhale. Thanks. Ooh, should stay with the 15s. 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, one more. Well, oof, oof. That one got me. 45 seconds rest. I'm gonna do the single arm using my chair for recovery. Anyone do anything fun this weekend? Is anyone out of state right now? Like we always have one person out of state.
No, I'm gonna have something going on my birthday's coming up on the 14th.
Party.
It's gonna be a milestone party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Park City, Utah for skiing. It's just today is the acclimate day, and
Oh,
so I'm low energy here.
very smart. Okay, yeah. Take it easy then with us. Maybe skip the cardio part. All right, ready for our rows? And begin. So if you're doing single, give me 10 on each side. And again, I'm just doing one at a time. Really focus when it takes a little bit longer when it's one at a time, but I feel like you could really focus a little bit more. Yep, we always got someone out of state. Awesome. Let's switch. Oof. I'm got me too. Yeah, when we're gonna go with our elbow across our knee. With these runs, I never consider it to be a factor, the actual environment of elevation. So, I'm running and I'm thinking, okay, I gotta run, I gotta climb at least 2 to 3,000 feet. But this weekend we reached, I think it was close to 5,500 feet of elevation, and we were there for a good 30 minutes, and I couldn't breathe up there. I was like, man, like, is this run really hard? And then my buddy reminded me, he's like, you got to remember, we're at 5,500 feet. I'm like, okay, that's why I'm out of breath too. So just be mindful of all the factors. So, especially with altitude, you want to stay very hydrated. All right, ready? 40 seconds. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. So, again, right here. Bring that shoulder across. We're at 25 seconds. Ah. 40 seconds. I'm gonna try 50 seconds. 45. And time. Whew. All right, this is where we get our 2 minutes, okay? So in between sets, we are granted 2 minutes. Oh. If you need more, take more, but I want everyone to get at least 2 minutes. Ugh. I'm glad I got my run out of the way for today. All right, I'm just gonna go over the next exercises. We're gonna go with reverse dumbbell curls. So that's gonna be when we have our dumbbells. You probably want to go with some lighter ones. We're gonna grip them with your palms facing behind you, and you bring them up this way. Okay, so typically palms are in front, and you're going here. For these dumbbell reverse, it's over and here. And this one, it could be a little bit more taxing on your wrist, and then also on your biceps. So if it seems like it's too much, then just do the regular dumbbell curls this way. But we could challenge ourselves. Let's go reverse. And speaking of reverse, we're gonna go with reverse lunges too. So dumbbells at your side and alternating reverse lunges. If the alternating or the stepping back is too much and you want to do a variation, you can always just do a static lunge. If for some reason that doesn't feel great, you could always just do a sumo squat. As long as we're doing that, but I prefer the reverse active one if possible. Now for cardio, let's go ahead and do hands to opposite foot. Okay, just a little bit of hamstring stretch as well as your back. Okay, not as taxing as the crossover with the knees. All right, here we go. Let me grab some lighter dumbbells for these. Where am I? Oh, they're right here. All right, grab your dumbbells here. And you'll notice for these reverse, you might have a tendency that your elbows want to flare out like this, but try to keep them in front of you as much as you can. All right, ready, and begin. Okay. And with these, I feel like it helps when I have all my thumbs above or over the the handle together, then wrapping my thumb around, because when I wrap my thumb around the handle, that's when naturally my arms want to rotate out. So I just keep my thumbs up. So in case you don't know what I mean, usually I grip them like this, but for this grip, I have them this way. Yeah. Feels a little off, but it helps with the rotating. And I lost count. That feels good. We have our reverse lunges. So for this one, feel free to have dumbbells at your side. If your legs are a little tired, you could just use your body weight, then just step back, which I'm probably gonna do because I'm still feeling that run from Saturday. Okay, dumbbell reverse lunges. We're gonna do, if you can, do 8 on each leg or 10. So somewhere between 16 to 20 total, okay? So 8 and 8 or 10 and 10. Ready, and begin. So again, you want to keep your torso upright. You don't want to lean too much. 4, 4, 5, 5. Ooh, the legs. 6, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whew, that was plenty. Okay. I forget. That's a cardio movement too. Yeah, we're gonna go with our opposite hand to toe. Yeah, about 25 seconds. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. So we're going for 30 to 50 seconds. So again, if your goal is to burn calories, this is a good one. We're at 30 seconds. 40. Good job. I see those, the cameras are still moving. And time. All right. I'll go with 1 minute rest before we go back to our reverse curls. Kathleen going for like 2 minutes. Good job.
I get interrupted all the time.
How many miles this weekend, Carmen? Like 5 or 6?
What was that?
How many miles did you walk this weekend?
The weekend?
Yeah,
Um, in total for the 2 days, 3 days, maybe 6, 7.
nice. Yeah, they had the Huntington Beach half and marathon this weekend. So, a lot of people out there. All right, so we're back to our dumbbell reverse curls, our second set. All right, ready? So 10 to 12, going a little lighter this time. And begin. I'm gonna get more repetitions. So again, it really helps too if you're tracking the amount of repetitions, the lifts, just so you know if we're getting stronger, you could track the amount of reps and weights that you're doing. Ooh, last one. 45 seconds rest. And then we got lunges. Oh. So my buddy, he's a history teacher and he's really into rocks and hiking. And we've been talking about hiking or doing Mount Whitney um, for years now, and we've never really committed to it. And yesterday he texted me that if I want to enter a lottery system, so I guess you have to submit your name and enter a lottery. And if you get selected, you and like your small group could, do Mount Whitney. So we're about to commit to that. So hopefully we we hit the jackpot and make it. Let's go with the reverse lunges. Ready and begin. Has anyone done that before or entered a lottery? I think it's through like the recreation.gov, like the same sites where you would reserve a campsite. But yeah, we'll see. 14,000 feet.
No, never done a lottery.
Oh. My mom still swears that she's gonna hit the lottery jackpot and that she's gonna give each of her children a house when she gets the lottery. I'm hopeful. Just keep moving. This is good cardio still. 2 more on each side. Oof. My quads are like, what are you doing to me?
Julio, are you gonna do Whitney in a day or are you gonna camp on the trail?
I think he said he was priority wanted to do the 2-day hike. But I think what he was saying is doing the wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and then go up there, make it right after sunrise and then come back down. So is that is that the 1 day or is that considered
Yeah, that's the one day.
okay?
22 miles in a day.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll have no problem.
Have you done that, Jeff?
I have, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. And was there a lottery system when you did it?
There was way back, you used to fax in a request.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, now it's all online. And I actually did it last summer and
Oh, wow.
I was
Okay.
able to get a permit. There's a lot of people out there. It's competitive, but
Yeah.
if you get enough people and you select enough dates, you should be
Right, yeah. That's what he was saying. Let's go. What were we doing? Yeah, these our second set of our opposite toes, right? Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, I can't even. I'm doing the same side. Yeah, so I think for the lottery, you could pick up to 10 different dates, and which would be like 10 different lotteries for every specific day. So yeah, it just our schedules do not line up. So I think out of the 10 dates, maybe like 4 of the dates actually link up to each other. So we'll see. But hopefully we're at 30 seconds. 40. 3, 2, 1. Time. All right. I know. All right. Oof. Are we doing okay on our feet, or do we need to do something on the floor?
On the feet, I'm exhausted already.
Okay, we'll go on our feet. If we drop down to the floor, I might just stay down there
Yeah, I will not be able to wake it up.
All right, so we're gonna do a little bit of chest work and a little bit of light front deltoid work. So underhand front raises. So start out wide, bring those dumbbells in, little squeeze, and then back down. Okay. Then we could go ahead. We'll do a single arm unilateral tricep kickback. So many words. So you could just rest with your hand on your elbow, bring that dumbbell elbow to your side and just extend, working on that tricep. Okay, and then for our cardio, we could just do jumping jacks or side step jacks, just depending on your energy level. You could go ahead and pick which one. Okay, so chest, shoulders, and triceps and cardio. That's our next set. Okay. About 10 more, no, 40 more seconds. Yeah, we want to go at the 2 minutes. Yeah, the longest hike I've done's been San Gorgonio, um, just above Palm Springs, but man, that was like 5, 6 years ago. Um, but now I think I'm getting more consistent, like altitude exposure. So we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and grab those dumbbells. So again, wide underhand front raises. Remember, when you're here, palms are facing the screen. 10 to 12. Ready? And begin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oof. Tricep kickbacks are next. Have your water handy. Yeah, I was calculating how many miles I did in January. I think it was 192 miles in January, and then climbed about 16,000 feet of elevation. And I was very excited. And then my buddy posts that he ran, I think, close to, I want to say like 300 miles and climbed over 52,000 feet. I was like, oh man, so much. Ready for our tricep kickbacks? We're here. Brace your back, make sure it's nice and straight. Elbow to your side and extend. So that elbow does not leave your side. It stays fixed right there. The only limb moving is from your elbow to your wrist. Make sure you're breathing. 9, 10, 11, 12. Oof. When you're ready and catch your breath, you can start the other side. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Good work. So remember, next one's jumping jacks or side step jacks. Okay, I'll probably go with the side step jacks. My calves are on fire. So remember, jumping jacks right here. Side step jacks, just one at a time. Arms are moving consistently. 15 seconds. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. So 30 to 45 seconds. Good job, Josefina. I see you. She's on the cruise right now, working out. There's Ramon too. All right. No pan dulce after this, okay? We wanna stay strong. 25 seconds. Oof. 34. All right, 35 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time. Good work. 90 seconds rest. We're gonna repeat that set more time. If anyone needs to use the restroom or grab more water, now's a good time.
Josefina hizo tamales para toda la semana.
Tamales?
Sí.
I'll pick up half a dozen. Y me los dejan en una canastita.
Ok.
De paso.
Está bien, sí.
Oh,
Dale. ¿De cuándo?
oh,
Que Julio quiere una docena, Julio,
ahí me
de
dice.
tamales.
Ah,
Mm,
no le gustan mis tamales.
¿De qué son?
De pollo y dulces de piña.
¿Qué? Sí, seis de cada uno.
Ok.
Kathleen quiere otra docena también.
Dice que no te gustan.
No, ella no sabe. All right, 30 seconds. Mi mamá acaba de, la semana pasada hizo pupusas.
Ah,
Ay, sí, vi la foto. Ay,
Yeah,
se me hizo agua la
yeah,
boca.
yeah. I finished my 14-mile, 13-mile run and came home to have 5 pupusas.
ah,
Ay,
Yeah.
nomás five.
All the calories I burned, I gained them back in like 15 minutes.
ah, ok.
All right, let's
Dale.
do our underhand front raises. Our second set. There we go. Ready? And begin. So up. 1, 2, 3. Make sure you're breathing. And 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. All right. 40-second rest. Tricep kickbacks. Ready? Here we go. So elbow up and 10 to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You're ready? Switch sides. All by your side and begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, those take a little longer, but getting those triceps. All right, here we go. Jumping jacks or side step jacks. Let's see. All right. Bye. All right, here we go. Ready? Okay, go. Yeah, good. Keep it going. We're at 30 seconds. $40. 3, 2, 1. Time. Good job. Some water. Those already. Mhm. Okay. All right, our next one's gonna be a compound movement for our arms and our shoulders. And then it's also, we're gonna do, this might be actually our last set. So we'll do 3 exercises. So dumbbell Poliquin, lateral raise. So that's gonna be a hammer curl. Then you raise your elbows up, and then we extend and come back. Okay, so here, here, here. Okay, so working out 3 different groups at once. Then we're gonna go ahead and do sumo squats. So you could go, I'll give you 2 options. Sumo squats, you're gonna be here and drop down, or a goblet squat. I'm sorry, not sumo. So we're here, come down, or you could do a pop squat. Okay, so pop squat, a little bit more cardio, but similar movement. Okay, it's gonna be a little bit more active, probably gonna burn a little bit more calories, but the goblet squat's probably gonna promote a little bit more strength. Okay, so you could go with either one, and then we'll go ahead and do calf raises. So just do these little heel raises, pulses. We'll aim for 20 of those. We'll do 2 rounds of each. Okay. Awesome. Any questions? How's our energy level? Are we close to redlining? Are we feeling really good?
I am done.
I love it, Carmen. Carmen's been letting us know how she's feeling. Oh, all right, here we go. So for the Poliquin, let's make sure you have something right there, good enough where we don't feel too exhausted, but also enough to give us a workout. So remember, we're doing 8 of these. Ready? So curl, up, extend, down. That's 1. 2. If you feel good, you could do 10. 3. Curl. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Okay, so remember, we have the pop squats or we have our goblet squats. Okay, we'll start those in about 30 seconds. I'm gonna go with goblet squats. If you're doing pop squats, go for 40 seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. If you're doing goblet squats, give me about 12 to 15 of these. So again, keeping your torso upright. We don't want to be, sometimes I see this. I don't want to see that. Stay upright. Very good. And then our calf raises are next. Calf raises. Fair enough for these. Give me 20. Gonna go a little heavier with these. And again, just heels up and down. Keep that heel elevated for about a second, or you bring them back down. Pretty slow movement, but your calves will appreciate it. If you're a walker or runner, I usually recommend these to prevent shin splints too. Stronger feet. All right. But a minute rest. Fortunately, that one's not too taxing. So you don't need too much rest for that one. Almost there. About 30 more seconds. We'll start again with our polyp point lateral raises. And here we go. On your dumbbells. Our last superset of the day. Ready? Again, so curl, extend, out. Five, six, seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, and ooh. All right, here we go. Goblet squats. Ready? And begin. 12 to 15. Keep that torso upright. Almost there, folks. All right. Ready? Last set. 20 calf raises. And begin. Oof. Let that workout. Good job. High fives, everyone. Oof. We could go ahead and grab a chair. We'll do a light cool down before we go on our way. All right. So just go ahead. These chair ones. Sit on that left hand. Bring your right hand over. And allow that elbow to drop. Let's switch. Hi, Mary and Lisa. I don't think I said hi to you. Hello. So again, feel free to explore through module 3. Some good information on core and balance on that one. Like I said, if you don't tend to just be on your phone and read the information there, you can always just play the videos and listen to it while you're, you know, doing a chore or eating or walking. Here we go. So let's go ahead and let's do a gentle trunk rotation. So just grab a hold of the side of your chair. Rotate. Switch. And then for our back and piriformis, let's go ahead and do our piriformis stretch. So left ankle on that right knee. So Jeff, when you hike Mount Whitney, what's your go-to when you for food? What do you usually pack?
Usually just bars, sandwich, nuts.
Yeah, yeah. I thought there was more to it, when I first started hiking. And I was like, oh, I could just go through my pantry and see what's about to expire. I would take that sometimes.
Whatever's light. You don't want to carry
Yeah,
heavy
no,
stuff.
no, exactly.
You lose your appetite at about 9 or 10,000 feet.
Yeah,
You just don't feel like eating. Once you're above like the tree line,
yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah. I remember my first few hikes, I was overthinking it. my buddy, he way overthought it. He we did Mount Wilson. This was back like 7 years ago. And we were just runners and do these fun runs, but this hike was gonna be like 6, 7 hours. So he packed about a pound and a half of carnitas. He had a container of rice, another container of beans, and about 8 tortillas. And he was asking me to eat some of his food because his back was hurting from carrying everything on his back. And I just had, yeah, nuts and I think like 2 or 3 uncrustable sandwiches. The
Yeah,
peanut butter
my
and
daughter
jelly.
likes those.
Yeah, and then let's push down gently. And I think maybe like one of those crackers that has like that nasty cheese spread. Uh, so yeah, and that's what but I had to help him out, so I had some carnitas too over up there. But yeah, it's always something light. Come up. All right, Mary. Thanks again, and thank you for your comment in the discussion. All right, folks. Well, that should do it for today. Thanks everyone for logging in and listening to me yap the first 20 minutes of class. But yeah, just information I know I like for you all to be in the middle of or be aware of. But yeah, other than that, I'll see you folks on Wednesday.
Yes.
So,
Thank
all
you.
right,
Thanks,
sounds good.
Julio.
All right,
Thanks.
folks.
Yeah.
Take
Gracias,
care.
Julio. Gracias.
Gracias. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.
Take care. Have a good day.